to where I can't figure this out. Like help me out. I'm trying to understand, dude, what the hell is going on? So that's the name of this partnership. You tell me. You tell me.
Dropping the new intro. Shout out to Moses for that beat.
You tell me.
Tell me. Hey.
You tell me. You tell me.
Hey.
You tell me.
Yes, sir.
You tell me.
Shout out to my man Moses for that funky intro, man. He dropped that on us, sent that in, said, hey, man, I got something for you. I want to bless you, brothers. Love what y'all doing. I got an intro track for y'all. Ain't nothing like it. Ain't nothing like it.
That's hard.
Dude, the school, how you making it, brother?
I'm good, man. Just got in town. Made it out here. I'm staying in Louisville, I think.
Yeah.
Not too far out, I don't believe. So, man, glad to be back out here in the mountains. Okay, good, man. So out here in the mountains and chilling, man. I'm glad, man. You tell me how you feeling.
You know, man, before we get into the you tell me of you tell me, I'm finna flip the you tell me back to you, because when you ask me how I'm feeling great, but it's attached to a you tell me, because you got to tell me, Dude Scoop, I don't know what I did to deserve this blessing that I got, but I want to know what I did to get it, because I want to do it again. And the blessing I'm talking about, when your auntie sent that caramel cake, so when I tell you, when I got here from Kansas and took that first bite, you tell me, what did I do to get love from the fam, to get a whole cake sent to me?
Man, let me tell you something, man. Aunt Tiny been a huge fan before I even started any of this. She was already a fan of yours. And she said, man, when she saw you, she said she could the first time she saw me and you together, man, I felt like she was finna fall out. You should have heard the voice, man. Phillip. So, man, shout out to Aunt Tiny, man. She been doing it for years. She famous in that area for them cakes. So she said, man, when I asked you, I said, you eat caramel cake? You responded, yeah, in your own kind of way.
Yeah. I said it's pig pork.
Hey, and she sent it through, man. I'm glad you liked it, man. And it's that time of year where we get it popping. So some people may have seen on my Instagram story, man. Shoot, man, it's cake after cake. Them things lined up by the layer. So, man, hey, man, hit my Instagram story, hit Aunt Tiny, hit at one Ricky Tan, RICKEYTAN. That's her son, my cousin Lil Ricky, who's 6'2". We still call him Lil Ricky. But hit Lil Ricky will hook you up, man.
Well, let me tell you this. If TT Tiny's in the cake business, this is the best business y'all have ever heard. The cake guy here, man, first of all, the wrapping was so professional, meticulous, and detailed. It was bubble wrap, layered. Like, I went through so many layers to get to the cake. Ain't no way the cake was going to shift or get damaged in shipment. Came out the box perfect. So, I had to just go ahead and just dig into it right there once I opened it. Man, that thing was so moist. Now, keep in mind now, it's been on the porch the weekend because I was out of town. I was in Kansas City, so I got it when I got here. Got back 4 a.m. Best breakfast of the year, baby, was TT Tiny cake, and got me a slice for the show, man. So much love. Appreciate her, supporting the platform and supporting what you and I are now doing together, man. That is nothing but love.
Man, family is family, man. She said, hey, I gotta extend it. We if he can't come to Thanksgiving, we're gonna send Thanksgiving to him. And that's always the start of the show after everything else.
Yeah. And I am forever thankful, baby. That's were you ready? You tell me, you ready to get into it?
So let's do it, man.
Monday night, we live. We checking in on D Pregame Show Network, also running live on our producer extraordinaire channel, Big Dog Chico. Big Dog Chico is in the background producing this show. You tell me, Dukes, how did Colorado lose this damn game?
I think how didn't they lose it? I mean, they lost it in so many ways. I mean, and I think just to be completely honest, man, Kansas was probably the best 4-6 team in the country. When you look at their coaching, you heard Coach Prime talk about Coach Leopold last week. He's literally what Coach Prime was doing as far as turning around a program, because he got that program out of the doldrums as well. When you look at what they wanted to do, which is run the ball, we knew they were going to have to tackle. We knew they would have to form tackle and gang tackle. Didn't do a lot of that. When you look at the push they were getting off the offensive line towards the defensive line, we hadn't seen a defensive line being blown back like that in a minute. It can go to the coaching staff. Should we have pinned some guys in? Should we have brought more in the box and just dared them to beat us? Dad used to beat you with his arm. There's a lot of meat on that bone as far as talking about what went wrong. And I think that you cannot allow what's going on, the outside noise, to impact what's going on the inside. And I think that may have happened just a little bit. Coach Prime worded it so perfectly when he said, intoxicated by success. And I heard you guys talking about it last night, and y'all really put it down. Like, it ain't a whole lot more to say, because at the end of the day, if there's anybody who's been in more team settings that can identify somebody who may have been looking ahead or not doing the things that they should have done, that they've been previously been doing, it will be Coach Prime. Baseball teams, football teams, they forgot Coach Prime can hoop, run track, coaching, media, don't matter, marketing. He's been a part of so many teams that he's an expert on teamwork. So when you get to that point, you say, you know what? I think he's qualified to identify if somebody may have been looking ahead just a tad. So I think with that being said, I think that it all came from a sense of urgency that you didn't have now that you had you could see over the mountain. Now you hadn't so when you couldn't see the top of the mountain, you were just climbing with all your heart, because nobody told you can get up any of the mountain. And then you see that top, and it's like, whoo, I'm almost there. And then you lose some of the intensity that you got up the mountain with. And that's how I would describe that game last week. And Kansas won nobody's joke, won nobody to play with. What you think, Unc?
Yeah, I love that, man. In fact, you sparked a somewhat of an epiphany in my mind, something that I hadn't quite considered before, at least into this detail that I'm about to throw out on you for the first time. Okay. There have been a lot of occasions where I may have seen things differently, from Deion Sanders. There may be some occasion where I see things differently than Coach Prime. Now, I'm naming those two entities separately for a reason, because they are two distinct individuals.
Okay.
But when you tell me what you just said about a person being primed, no pun intended, to see things a certain way because of their experiences, from where I sat, I don't know how much we were looking ahead of feeling ourselves. But from where he sits, I have to respect and appreciate what he sees. One is his team. He built it. He know people in the room better than I know him. He's around them more than I'm around him, and I'm there every day. And then when you lean on his experiences of knowing what looking ahead and taking something for granted looks like, then I have to say, well, you know what? Let me scale mine up a little bit, because I wasn't putting a lot of weight in that category of that we looked ahead and was smelling ourselves. But I will add some percentages to that off of his belief and trusting his judgment. Now, having said that, here's where I am personally. It's a mixture of things. I gave a golf analogy on this weekend shows that, when you're playing golf and you're shooting 100 plus and you work at your game and you get it down to 90 and everybody's celebrating. And then you look at it, it's relatively easy, even though it's hard, to go from 100 to 90. It gets tough when you're trying to go to 80 to 70 and then go under 70. I think what we came to realize when we got to Kansas is that whether it is our coaching styles and philosophies, our preparation with the players, our making sure we don't look ahead, that we have some work to do organizationally. Because we went into that game and we literally got beat in every category that you would want to measure. I did like what the offense was able to do in the few opportunities that they had the ball. They had the ball 19 minutes and scored 21 points. I ain't got a problem with that. But there was not a person on the field that had their best game. It just wasn't. It didn't take place. And let me give you this nuance to you and the audience out there that I think had a lot to do with the loss, a lot to do with the looking ahead, a lot to do with Coach Prime says, smelling yourself, whatever you want to take it. We got to understand, we didn't earn that.
Mm.
We were gifted this opportunity. We were off on the weekend, chilling at the crib, and everybody else lost, and it propelled us in the second place. And one thing I know about stuff that you don't earn, you don't damn respect it. You don't appreciate it.
Mm.
And it's easy for somebody to take something from you that you didn't fight your ass off to get yourself. You know, we got to rewind a couple of weeks when we were at the house on the bye week and all these other teams lost, and it propelled us up because we only had at the time that one loss to Kansas State. And I think that sense of entitlement that Coach Prime is speaking of, that we got there and took some things for granted that we normally wouldn't have taken for granted had we fought for it and earned that.
Right.
There it is.
Yeah. No, I agree. And the thing is, a lot of and right now, and you know what? I'm gonna hold on. I'm gonna hold that point. We're gonna get into my you tell me.
Yeah.
You tell me, for somebody who spends as much time as you do, as familiar with the program as anybody in the whole building, what does practice look like tomorrow for the Colorado Buffaloes?
You know, one thing that this organization is good with, because it's full of so many people that have been there, done that on the collegiate level and NFL, you got to hit the reset button. You know, the team talk today from Coach Prime was about the squandered opportunity against Kansas, but 30 seconds after that, it was what you going to do now. You know, we got Oklahoma State coming here, and if we want everything that we once had, you know, you got all these scenarios, you know, Houston, if they win, if the rivalry between ASU and Arizona State goes this way, but none of that matters if you don't win Friday morning against Oklahoma State. So the ball is right back where it's been all year long. Is you got to earn it. Like, you got to go prove who you really are. You got to prove that ain't you that happened in Kansas City. Show them who you are, who you've been. So practice actually is pretty damn normal, Dukes. It's pretty much what you've been doing, because there's no cause for panic, because it's just like, hey man, you got bust in the face. And I remember after that Nebraska loss, how it turned out to be the best thing, you know, that could have happened to us. And one thing Coach Sherman did, I thought that was excellent, because it felt like a funeral in that locker room post game. And he walked around the room and probably to each player, you know, touched them and said, remember, we got 2 games left. We got 2 games left. And that's Oklahoma State in the bowl game. You know, you can dwell on this too long if you want to, but we got 2 games left to show the world who we really are and end this season on a good note. So I think practice is going to be normal. I think guys are going to be real dialed back in. You know, you had some things where you may have lost some guys injury-wise, but you're also getting some guys back for this game. So I'm looking for intensity, man. I'm looking for Oklahoma State to try to implement Kansas' model. You know, it worked. But I don't think it's going to work again.
Yeah, I think you surmised that perfectly. I'm not as familiar. Hope I may take a peek tomorrow to see. I might jump in your back pocket and see what's going on. But outside of that, you can't dwell on that game. And they got and to your point, there's something that we call letting the same team beat you twice. Then the same loss beat you twice. So if you don't move on from that loss will beat you again. And if you think Ollie Gordon came in as a Heisman candidate. Ollie Gordon, the running back at Oklahoma State, had against Texas Tech last week, had 15 carries for 156 yards.
You better tell it.
If you think you're getting a day off because the world feels bad for you or something, you're wrong. So at this point, I think to your point, you gotta flesh it. I mean, it's over with. You got a lot to play for, and even now, I feel like you got even more to play for. And you made a really good point about how you learn from Nebraska, how you learn from Kansas State. This loss could have been the best thing that happened for this team long term. When I say that, it's because, like you said, you talked about earning it. At the point where you get this loss, when you're coasting, you done beat the hell out of everybody. And you know, you've gotten so used to giving up a couple of scores before you get started that eventually that has to bite you in the tail for you to learn. Like, at the end of the day, if I keep touching the stove And I know, and my mama can tell me as many times that as hot as she wants to. Until I get burnt by that, I'm not going to recognize and I'm not going to appreciate it. Well, we put our hand on that stove this past week, right? And it got hot and it stayed hot and it's burnt and you felt it, and that's what you felt after the game. So now I guarantee you, I'm willing to bet the world that offense comes out with their hair on fire. Defense too. I would be very surprised to see another slow start from Colorado based off the learning experience that they just undertook this weekend.
I would, if I was a betting man, I would take that wager right there with you. I said on Conchico last night, and as well as DMVR a couple days before that at some point I went into my Nigradamus mode, not Nostradamus, Nigradamus mode, predicting the future. Yeah, that we can keep doing these slow starts we want to, and winning. Because one thing, we could take it back to my basketball days. One of the worst things that could happen, man, a joker make a bad shot. He pull up for three and ain't nobody under the basket. And you like, son, don't do that. Got to get your teammates back. Let them get position. But, Coach, I made it. Coach, what you talking about? I hit the shot. What's wrong? We had so much success with these slow starts that I don't know if we appreciated that we needed to do differently. But we ran into somebody that capitalized off that and used that against us. And I'm with you. I don't think that's going to happen again. I think that learning lesson, touching that hot stove, gave them more lessons in life than any pregame speech would.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree, man.
Let me hit you with some numbers. If I may chop kick, I always got to work a chop kick in there. On defense, 79 snaps, allow 0 catches, and that means thereby 0 yards and 1 pass breakup. 79 snaps now. On offense, 46 snaps with 125 receiving yards, 2 tutties to go with that. Of course, I'm talking about Travis Hunter, but we lost the game. You tell me, should the loss negatively impact his Heisman chances?
No. All he did was show that he is the best player and the most valuable in college football. That was a team loss. Anybody who watches that game, you saw what happened. Team came out flat, but Travis Hunter was engaged the whole time. And this is not for me to say that Travis that didn't take any fault in this game, because that was a team loss, period.
Yeah.
No matter how well anybody did, that's a team loss. But I will say, even with that loss, you can't disqualify him from the Heisman race, because when you look at the other Heisman candidate, you look at Boise State, they lost. You look at Cam Ward, he lost. So it's not the undefeated award. It's the best player in college football. And we saw Lamar Jackson do the same thing. And he was so far ahead of what everybody else was doing. And that year I forgot who was second and third, but Lamar really ran away with it toward the end. I think that's what Travis is doing. The performance that he's putting on, his catches that are getting called back, penalties, things that have nothing to do with him, are still highlights. He's put so much on film this year that allows you to see who he truly is freakishly as an athlete. And the 79 snaps that he has to undertake on defense, it allows you to see that his aptitude, and I don't feel like he gets enough credit for how smart he is. Like, not just smart as a football player, but do you know how smart you got to be to know every play on offense and every play on defense? Like, this ain't just a package for him. It's not just, oh, well, we're going to run Travis package and he's getting an end around and everybody knows you're getting the ball every time you out there. Travis got to stalk block. Travis got to run his routes at full speed, even when he knows the ball's not coming to him and he may not be even a read in that pass set. I mean, he's run blocking. He has to do everything that every wide receiver has to do. As a cornerback, he has to set the edge. He has to beat blocks. He has to maintain coverage. He has to show looks in different zones. He has to do everything a cornerback has to do. So it's not, and so even past the stats, the responsibility of being a corner, a full-time corner, and a full-time receiver is so much that I'm glad that people are starting to see that Travis Hunter is truly the best player in college football, and it's not close.
I got nothing to add to that, but an organ if I had one, because you preaching, Pastor. You showed enough preach right there. And part of that intellect, that football IQ, don't forget his classroom IQ. The brother's a 4.0. Was a 4.0 at Jackson State, transferred to Colorado as a 4.0. I think people, like you said, totally look past his football intelligence and his real life intelligence. And if the Heisman Trophy is supposed to be for the best player in college football, with some measurements off the field as well, such as the classroom and in life, it has to be Travis Hunter this year. I totally agree with you. I don't think the loss should upset that at all.
You tell me, back in your heyday, when Unc was still young and wild, and I heard a few stories about you back in the day. Yeah, man. Back in your day, let's say you 18 years old, full of emotion, and let's say you had been on that field when that cheap shot happened, and we all know what we're talking about.
Absolutely.
Not to say that you would have done anything physically, but had you been on that field, where would you have been emotionally witnessing something so cheap and so dirty?
Absolutely been in payback mode. Yeah. To quote Terrell Owens, who has become a good friend of mine since I met Coach Prime, when a tear fell down his eye talking about Tony Romo, he said, "That's my quarterback."
Right.
Everything that we have worked on, everything that we have done to get here, hinges on his health. And it's one thing to get hurt playing football. It's another thing to get hurt when somebody deliberately, intentionally targets your knee like that. That player for Kansas started that dive at a low trajectory about 5 yards, in advance. That was a targeted low blow at Shadour's knees. And I would have volunteered to the coaches to go in and get some payback, or somebody getting ejected with me, because I'm going out there because you've had players who have been so great at what they do, whether it's love or hate, that the rules have changed. You had the Jordan rules, you had Hacker Shack, you had things that weren't called like they're traditionally called because of who it was happening against. And I'm seeing the Shadur rules take place. And I'm seeing that there are things that are allowed to happen to him that would not happen to the quarterback at Texas, that would not happen, to a quarterback at another school with a different last name, a number on his jersey. And so I know that the school gets to officially, send in a grievance from officiating after each game where you can highlight plays. That has to be one of them. That crew has to be called in and talked to, and maybe even disbanded, because whereas you had some good officials on that crew, the totality of the officiating that night was subpar at best. Having said that, dear Kansas, we didn't lose because of the officials.
There we go.
The officials didn't help y'all 1 for 300 yards. The officials didn't have us missing tackles. And I told folks this on a previous broadcast. If we were in the wrong defensive scheme, we wouldn't have been making contact in the backfield. We wouldn't have been making contact at the line of scrimmage. The fact that we were making contact shows that we were in the right place at the right time. We just failed to tackle. Their dudes were stronger than our dudes that night. But back to your point about that officiating, that dirty hit, I don't know how you can look at that and not walk away knowing that is egregious, that is not what the rules allow. And not only should have been a flag, the defensive player should have been kicked out the game.
Yeah, man. The ball had been gone. It was somewhere you go that low. And who goes that low? He wasn't pushed into him. He went low on a quarterback.
Yeah.
Like a linebacker or whatever you play goes low on a quarterback, bro.
Yeah.
Like that was so weak to me, man. And
Dukes, if I dive at your chest
from
5 yards away, we're just talking physics and gravity, and you're backing up as I dive, I'm probably going to land around your knees and ankles because you're moving away and I'm coming down. This dude did a beeline dive at the knees. He wasn't aiming for shoulders. He wasn't trying to bat a ball down. The ball had been gone. This was a direct hit trying to take his knees out. And just think had Shadur's cleats been a little more planted in the ground, where they locked into the turf and his knee took all that. Thankfully, his feet were able to get swept out from under him, and it didn't put any pressure on his knees. But the hit was deliberate, man. And here's what I say. to the coaching staff at Kansas. You're either coaching it or allowing it. So you either encourage that kind of play, or when they come out the field having done it, you just wink, wink, and say, "Good one."
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. And there were a lot of life lessons that came out of this game. And this is one thing that I talk to the young guys that I mentor, whether they family or not. They all like family. But when you got something going for yourself, you have to keep yourself, and this is nothing that Shedeur could have done. But we talking about in life. Keep yourself out of situations where people don't have nothing to lose. See, Shedeur's future is so bright. This guy was willing to crash out for one game. Crash out. This man, ain't no telling what this man gonna be doing. Probably selling insurance or something. Ain't no telling. He need to be a crash test dummy the way he did that. But I digress. But you got to keep yourself, and this for everybody listening. Make sure you keep yourself out of situations with people who don't have nothing to lose. And if you end up in those situations, try to get out of them as fast as possible, because you have no idea what people are willing to do to see you fail, just because they don't have the same trajectory that you have. So if there's anything I took out of that in an unfortunate situation, thank God that it didn't end up with the serious injury, which it could have, like you said. When you got people who don't have anything to lose, make sure you handle them accordingly.
Yeah. I love it, man. I'm reminded of that episode from the Boondocks when they had the Thugnificent biopic documentary, and he was in his hometown, and he said, I had to ask myself, what did this ninja do to make them so damn mad? Like, why are they so mad at this brother, man? Like, why you're so mad at his success that you would leverage and risk your future to hurt him when he has done nothing to you personally but excel at his craft. Why are you mad?
Why are you mad?
Oh, watch this. I'm gonna hurt him. Watch this. Come on, dog.
Bush League.
Bush League.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. I gotta know this. The people want to know this. We just took a L. Gave up more yards on the ground than we've given up, and this was what I call LSD, Lewis Sapp Dancy defense. You can get high off of it so good. We had LSD, baby. Like, get you there. This profound. See what Rob Livingston's been doing all year. 4 wins in a row, 8 wins on the season. But after that loss, you tell me, Duke to Scoop, why is this still a good football team? Why should we still be looking in Colorado like it's a good football team?
I mean, I look at consistency. I look at, is this the exception or the norm? How many times have we seen that LSD defense, as you so eloquently put it, come out and hold people to under 100 yards rushing? How many times? And these ain't no Rudy Poo running backs. We talking about the job they did against in the first half against Taj Brooks. After they had the game in hand, then they started backing up to make sure that the ball didn't go over their heads, and they gave us some rushing yards. But when the rushing offense was their principal focus, Taj Brooks didn't get off. Okay, cool. Then you go to Mekhi Bernard at Utah. What they as a team, 30 carries for 31 yards. So nobody, I think that we had been so comfortable as people who had been watching Colorado with the run defense that this never crossed anyone's mind. And the Kansas doubled down. So basically, I see no scenario where this doesn't get fixed to where it's not as egregious as it was. If you can't stop the run, you can't get off the field, because all I got to do is turn around and hand it off. The passing wasn't just, I mean, and no disrespect to the kid at all, but it's not like it was Pat Mahomes. It was, he ran what was open, right? He hit what he hit what was open based on having to overcompensate for things in the running game. And when everybody started triggering to the run, and then what they started doing is hitting us back door on the counter. So these are all things that I can see. And I'm no football expert, but even I can see that. And I think that when you have things that are fixable, that's what lets you know that it's a good football team, because fixable things get fixed. And we've seen proof of concept of that already this year. When you've got a team that no matter who you line up against, they're giving up those type of rushing yards. When you got a team that can't score, even when when you only have it, what was it, 19 minutes?
Yeah.
Those 19 minutes easily are a donut for a lot of people, but not for not for this team. When you look at the coaching staff, when you look at the experience, when you look at everything that goes along with this team, it is impossible to say that this is a bad team. And I've got 18, and I know 11 teams this year that will say they not sorry. That's not a bad team. And I think if you ask Kansas, would they want to play Colorado again? I guarantee you they'd say no. And it worked, right? If you had to play in a series, if this was a home and away, I definitely know that this is not the time. And I think, and if I'm Oklahoma State, I'm looking at this film, and I'm only taking a little bit of it because you won't see that same Colorado. See, football is one of those sports, and in athletics, there's a lot of them, but football in particular, where intangibles play such a heavy role in the game. And there's something that we can't touch, that we can't go find on the stat sheet, but there was something off about Colorado this weekend. And I don't, I would be very hard pressed to go put my finger on it. But sometimes you can get me and you can get the same recipe, and we make the food, but yours may just taste different than mine. And I can't put my finger on it. You can't put your finger on it. It's just how it is. It's the same thing that goes along with how Colorado came out this week. So that was a good team that played poorly, and I'd stand on that till the cows come home. What you think?
First thing I think is you made that reference to recipe. So hold on. Hold on. Shout out to TT Tiny. Put that camera on him. When you said recipe, because she could send me the recipe and they ain't gonna be able to do what she just did. So you teed that up perfectly. Because they might have missed the beginning of the show.
Right.
We got 660 plus watching live on the Pregame Show Network. Of course, you're over the Big Dog Chico Network, whichever channel you're watching on. Make sure you hit that thumbs up. Make sure you turn the notification bell on. Make sure you subscribe both channels. We come in every Monday night with You Tell Me, with yours truly, Big Unc and Duke to Scoop. Mm-hmm. I think what you just said, man, was salient. I think it was clear. I think it was concise. This one loss does not define what this team is. And if you just look at the totality at being 8-3, whether you're a hater or a lover, how many people in August would have said we were going to be 8-3? So I think this team, when you look at what happens in college football, to go from 1-11 to 4-8, now 8 wins, you have done. I'm not going to say what's impossible. You have done what is improbable. You don't double your wins, in a year like that. Typically, when you have regime changes, and that's nothing to hang your hat on low. And you can get out of here with 9 wins. So that's going to be double, plus 1, and you got a bowl game. So I think you're spot on. I think the Kansas game is more of an anomaly when you look at what happened statistically in many categories before this game. Give you a negative first. We have now played 11 ball games. We're 8-3, and all but one of them we've had started slow. So you have to look in the mirror and just acknowledge I'm a slow starting team, because 10 out of 11 times ain't wrong. That's who I am.
Right.
The converse can be said about the defense. Look how many times we have stopped the run, as you stated, and they had a good back. They had a good running game. So I would go into this situation knowing that, no, I got the guys. I don't know if it was the angle of the moon or some kind of retrograde people be talking about. I don't know what happened, but it was not night. It was not night.
Right.
And I think they can bounce back from this. And with these next 2 games, next 2 for sure, could possibly have 3. With these next 2 games we got, can really end the season on a great note, because from your coaching, playing days, et cetera, covering football, no matter what happens in the season, everybody wants to win the last game because that sets the tone for the next season. And Oklahoma State, has bounced around the bottom of the conference all year, but what a win it would be for their program going into the next year to win at Colorado. So they're going to try to do what you just said Kansas did. They're going to try to keep Shador, Travis off the field, run the clock, run the ball. But I think now, having been through that ringer, having seen what happens when we don't correct things, I don't think it's gonna fly this time, dog. I think that retrograde that Mercury was in or whatever happened that night in Kansas City is not gonna happen in Folsom Field.
All right, I got you tell me. We're gonna brighten it up a little bit.
Let's do it.
You tell me, how big was it for Colorado to land a quarterback like 5-star Julian Lewis?
You know, dog, it's almost like Aunt Tiny's cake right here. It's so many things that goes into that recipe of why that is so huge.
Mm-hmm.
Not only did Coach Prime deliver to Colorado a Heisman Trophy winner in Travis Hunter.
Mm-hmm.
Let's keep it a thou wow. Let's keep it a buck nasty.
Yeah.
Travis Hunter wouldn't be in Colorado without Deion Sanders.
Period.
Okay. So Colorado is about to get another Heisman in that hallway. That hallway you walk down, you've seen it.
Yeah.
Sean Sloan Heisman sitting there. It's space for another one. It's space for another one. That doesn't happen without Deion Sanders.
Right.
Shador Sanders is not here without Deion Sanders. The list goes on and on. You go from 1-11 to 4-8. That doesn't happen without Deion Sanders. And here's the biggest chunk that I want to throw in that recipe. All the people saying that Coach Prime is about to leave. That when his sons leave, he's leaving. That he's going to the Cowboys or going to the NFL or Florida State about to call. And in the midst of all that treachery, because a lot of those rumors are just that, it's treachery. It's not reporting. It's not based on substance. It's keeping mess up, because who wants to drink water out of a dirty glass? Who wants to drink water that's cloudy? So if I can just cloudy the water up, it's going to make somebody go, let me just drink this over here instead.
Right.
And with all that working against you and for you, you signed the number 2 player in the country, and he's the number 1 position that you absolutely have to replace because of who you're losing. You can't go out there and get no other Travis Hunter, because ain't no other Travis Hunter. All right, so that is what it is. But you got to get a quarterback in here, because you had a quarterback who started 2 years and he's gone. We got to get a quarterback in here, and you go get the number 2 player in the nation. Your second year at a program, and y'all telling me this man can't coach, can't recruit, and hold on, wait, he didn't come out the portal. He came out of high school. I think the signing of Juju is bigger than getting Miss Peggy a bowl game as it relates to the future of the program, because I really do believe that the support for this program would not lessen or anything had we gone from 4 wins to 5 wins, because that's still an improvement. And 5, you're short of a bowl game. Right. The signing of Juju, it changes the trajectory of this thing for years to come.
Yeah, I think I just happened to be watching some old Georgia playoff games in high school, and I ran across Juju's game as a 9th grader, 14 years old, state championship game, 500 passing yards against Caleb Downs in Mill Creek. And a lot of people say Caleb Downs is the best sole defensive player in the country right now. We saw Caleb Downs going off the other day. Juju had 500 yards at 14 years old. Never seen nothing like it. Last year, ESPN going against Aaron Nolan gave Langston Hughes, who was the all-world pick going into the season, gave him everything they wanted. Every time I've seen pressure on Juju, he balls out. And I think that is so important for a situation going here where the cameras are going to be on you, right? Where you're going to get extra hate because of who your head coach is. When you're going to be in the shadow of not only a Heisman candidate, the presumptuous Heisman winner, but also a Heisman candidate quarterback that in any other year, he probably would have won the Heisman.
Absolutely.
So you step into that and the number 1 pick. So if anybody can handle the pressure that comes along with that, is Julian Lewis. And I think it was huge.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think, like, programmatically, organizationally, that we'll still add a quarterback from the portal, because with all the accomplishments that you just touted from high school, there's still going to be some growing pains from high school to college. And whether Juju starts as a true freshman or, gets mentored for half the season and then starts, whatever the case may be, having a seasoned guy in the locker room with him, You got an excellent coach and offense coordinator in Pat Shermer. Even Juju's family said that was one of the key reasons, aside of Coach Prime, they wanted to come here. But I think having a guy in the locker room with him that has played, not just a veteran guy because he's been on the team, but a veteran guy that has played somewhere, moved the ball down the field, that can be in his ear and help him mentor from a player's perspective. I think you're going to still go out and do that. I think you're going to still go out and find, a seasoned quarterback. But damn, man, that signing of Juju is the reason it was live on Pat McAfee shows. The world stopped to watch because it was just that damn big. It was just that big.
Pat McAfee was huge, and that was one of them ones you can honestly say. And we throw that term around so often now, but yeah, that was truly a generational commitment. I haven't seen that one.
Yep. No, not at all. Now I'm gonna hit you with a fan one. All right. Get your perspective. No right or wrong answer. Just get your perspective. So let me inform the folks out there first. When we left the Pac-12, you left with the agreement being for the next 2 years you would play in the Pac-12 tie-in bowl games, not the Big 12.
Mm-hmm.
So we've earned the bowl game, but the list of bowl games that we can go to, we would be going under the quote-unquote Pac-12 umbrella, which means you could even be playing a Big 12 school or someone who was in the Big 12 last year. So you could arguably get a rematch with, say, a Kansas State, or you could fall somewhere or rise somewhere and get a matchup between you and, say, somebody from the SEC. What I want to know from you is you tell me, does the bowl location matter, or do we just happily go to a bowl?
I think you happily go to a bowl. Reason being, it didn't matter where Colorado played this year, they was coming out. And I think it don't matter. UCF, they came out. Kansas Stadium ain't looked like that all year. Arrowhead has not looked like that when the Jayhawks been there. The only time it looked like that was when the Chiefs were there. You look at everywhere you've been on the road. When Colorado travels, people come out to see it. So I think it's a really, really. I think that the popularity of the Sanders family, being able to see potentially even getting close to a guy like Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders, the number one pick, I have no clue how that'll work out in the bowl game, but in a bowl scenario. But I'll say this: the opportunity to see the show that is Colorado, I think is really huge to be able to push the brand in places. Because one thing about it, most schools can't go recruit with a national imprint, especially not in the Big 12. There's only about 5 or 6 schools that it don't matter where you are in the country, we can come get you. Well, guess what? Colorado is now one of those schools. So it doesn't matter where you place them when it comes to ticket sales. The bowl would be a bowl like there. Who would you want besides Colorado? Good gracious, a bowl game, the coverage, the experience. So that's first and foremost. You're gonna make money because everywhere Coach Prime has been, they've made money, and I don't think the bowl game will be an exception. Part 2 of that is going to be the recruiting portion of it. For people in those areas, the 26, the 27 class, to be able to get a chance to come out because let's say you go to South Florida, let's say you go to the Pacific Northwest. Who cares where you go? There are going to be guys who may have not had a chance to go check Colorado out to see what it's really like, that they can get a glimpse into the program through the bowl game locally by being able just to go out and get those bowl tickets. So I think it's really important. And I think this is one of those, and Colorado has made themselves one of those schools. I'll say it again, one of them ones where it don't matter where you go to the bowl game because the bowl game is going to be excited to have Colorado.
I love it. I love it. I got a couple of hats on it. I agree fundamentally with what you're saying. Here's the greed in me. I want to go to the biggest one we can qualify for because that means the check to the school going to be bigger. That means the check from the school to the athletic department going to be bigger. That means the check from the athletic department to the football program going to be bigger. So I'm all for that. Having said that, I agree with your sentiments exactly. The prime effect is real. It doesn't matter which location of bowl game we get. It's going to be the highest attended and most watched one. The real money is the TV eyes, not the attendance eyes. It's going to be the most watched bowl game. The sponsors of those bowl games know that. Right now, with our tie-ins with the old Pac-12, Our options, not our options, because it's the ones just on the table, depending on where we finish. You could go to the Alamo Bowl in San Antonio, the Independence Bowl in Shreveport, the Las Vegas Bowl in Vegas. There's one in Los Angeles, the LA Bowl, and then there's I think it's called the Tony the Tiger Bowl, and it's in El Paso. And in each one of those bowls, there's a slated counterpart that finishes in correlation with you from their conference that you will be playing. More than location, hear me out on Dukes, that I'm interested in, more than location, I don't think there's any argument or debate that the premier conference in college football still is the SEC. I would love to fall in one of these bowl slots, whichever location, that's matched up with the SEC. And you could be looking at Colorado versus Ole Miss, Colorado versus Alabama. You talk about a ball game, you talk about a measurement test, you talk about a way for Travis and Shedeur to go out together one last time. It'd be a great look for college football. And I don't know what else going to be on TV at the same time, but it ain't getting watched.
Man, I'm telling you, hey, what I like to say, if something else planned to go against that, you got the right plan and the wrong man. You got the right dream and the wrong team. That's not who you want to see if you're talking about fighting for ratings. If you saw Colorado, like right on my versus the SEC team, on my Instagram right now, there's guys who don't even watch football asking, can they beat a SEC team? They absolutely can beat one. And I just think it's one of those things that there's going to be so much fanfare around that you got to make that happen. And so if Colorado does end up in just a bowl and not the playoffs, because I think that, the playoffs are definitely still on the table, as we both know.
Sure.
But let's say it ends up just being a bowl. I don't think it gets any better than being able to go against the SEC team. And with how these conferences are stacked now, it's going to be a name brand SEC team.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I love it. I love it. Hit me one, bro. Hit me with one.
Man, let's go here. If you had to project Travis Hunter and we see 79 snaps, targeted 1, 0 catches, 2 touchdowns receiving, you're the GM. You got to pick Travis at one position to start. If you had to start him at one position first, where would you go and why? Now, you can always flip him.
Yeah.
But the first game, you got to start him at one. Where would you go?
Easy for me. And I'm going to tell you why it's easy for me.
Yeah.
This is business. This is big business. And what people like to see in the NFL is points being scored. And I think it's easier for me as a GM to put in a player personnel and even a coach to put Travis in a position to get a touchdown as wide receiver than it is for him to get a pick six. And so what I want him to do is have an immediate impact. And so what I'm going to do is put him on the offensive side of the ball first, a wide receiver. And then as that goes along, you will certainly see him in certain schemes that can be just formulated around him. And the reason I say specifically around him is I don't need him spending too much time away from the wide receiver room if that's where I'm going to have him at. And so I need him to be able to just master a few things over there and come right back. But I'm going to try to get that ball in his hands offensively because with this brother's speed, his new 17 pounds of muscle mass, his hands, we don't even have to do go routes, man. This dude can score off a jet sweep. Yeah. Like he's fast. And I think we forget how shifty he is because he's blowing by people downfield. We lose on those short routes, how he makes people miss. So if I'm picking, I'm slating him for wide receiver first because I think it is the mathematical odds of him being able to score frequently, rapidly from that position versus pick sicking somebody to the house. Give me wide receiver first shot.
I'm going to agree with that. And there's one, and the reason I'm going to agree is because of his ball skills. There's one person I've seen that makes catches like Travis Hunter a little bit. That's George Pickens. I haven't seen anybody who can pluck the ball out of the air from situations where he shouldn't be able to. And I think that skill is why now imagine having George Pickens without any of the extra, right?
Yeah.
And I love George Pickens to death, but it's always something going on. Travis Hunter is the most problematic, probably wide receiver and a diva position.
Ain't no diva about him.
Yeah, no disrespect to any of the wide receivers, but historically it's been a diva position where, well, his defensive ability has allowed him to take that defensive mentality, that aggressive mentality on the offensive side of the ball. So when you got a pit bull like that can go out and make the catches that he can make, I haven't seen him be covered yet this year. Because if the ball is close, he gonna find out a way to get it. He's always open. It don't matter, man. If two people on him, he's going up top. Throw the ball low. He's scooping it off his shoelaces. I mean, he's a very special guy with the ball in his hands, and I think his ball skills are second to none. So yeah, if it's me, I'm gonna agree with you on. I got to take him on offense first.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I cannot wait to see it. Coming up on the top of the hour, man, we got 800 in here live and also over on Big Dog Chico's channel. If you're in either channel watching live, man, hit that thumbs up, hit that bell so you know we're coming on, and also hit that subscribe because we appreciate it. That's how we pay these bills. That's how we bring you the thrills. It's all connected. You know, we're coming up on that top of the hour, baby, so this probably might be the last one depending on how it goes. So we're going to shift the focus coming into this weekend, which will be Friday for us. But dig this, because I've seen it go by in the chat, and the chat is exactly right. We've been talking about bowl games, et cetera, et cetera. But the reality is the Big 12 championship is still on the table. We just need quote-unquote help. You have a situation where if Houston wins, you have a situation with the rivalry game at ASU and Arizona and so forth. But it actually, none of that matters. It's all hinging on what we do 10 a.m. Black Friday at Folsom Field Mountain Time. So you tell me, Dukes the Scoop, excuse me, what must Coach Prime and the Colorado Buffs do to beat Oklahoma State?
Stop the run. You got to stop the run. You stop Ollie Gordon, it's hard to get. It's hard for them to get going. They've got good receivers, but I feel like the corners are well prepared to combat their good receivers. You got to stop Ollie Gordon. Ollie Gordon was a Heisman candidate coming into the season for a reason. Ollie Gordon is the real deal, and he makes it possible to get into the short routes where Oklahoma State, when they're rolling, when they're clicking offensively, they can put up points in a heartbeat because they'll throw that slant. Once you bring that safety up, they throwing that slant right behind your head. They throwing that post or that dig right behind the safety. Excuse me. They throwing that post behind the safety. So they play simple complementary football, but it all starts with the run game. You stop him, you got a chance, and I think that's the most important thing, even from a confidence point. You come out, you get some stops. You see that defense, get some stops because we saw the offense last game. We didn't see the defense. You got to see the punter this game. You got to make them punt. You didn't get off the field for 1 third down, but we were also going up against the number 1 third down team in the country, but that shouldn't matter. They only average 50%. If you held them to their average, you win that ball game. They went 100.
Yeah.
I mean, if they didn't go 100, it was on 4th down. But you didn't make them punt one time, and you got to stop the run in order to make Oklahoma State punt. And I think that's how you win the game. It starts defensively this time in the trenches. You got to be strong up front.
I love it. I love that answer. I love that outlook. I know you're going to give us a deeper dive on Thanksgiving morning when the breakdown drops. And if y'all haven't checked it out, man, on the Pregame Show Network every Thursday with the upcoming opponent. And in the offseason, it's going to be about other sports topics. It's the breakdown, meaning many different things, breakdowns of a game, breakdown what's happening in sports at the time. Phillip Dukes with the breakdown on Thursdays on the Pregame Show Network channel. Make sure y'all check that out this Thursday. Matter of fact, go back and watch some last ones, and you'll see how damn right he was about what happened in the game because he talks about what we can't do or need to do. I like that stopping the run. I like what you said about 3rd down. I'm going to flip it more to the offense. First quarter, take what they give you, man.
Yeah.
Because we got to get momentum. Find the green grass, get the receivers to find the green grass and sit in it. And I don't care if it's dink and dunk for the first couple of minutes. Let's get some completions, get the offense moving forward so we start to get the confidence of, hey, it's the 1st quarter and we're moving the ball. And let's get a score from that, even if it's a field goal. I think huge for us in this Oklahoma State game to score early. You know, to score one of those first 2 possessions, preferably the first. I think that's going to be huge for us. Man, love all of that. Love all of that. What man? What a week! What a week! This, and you know, I'll tell you something, dog. Let me take this co-host hat off a second. Go brother a second. This just episode 3,
dog.
This just episode 3,
man. Man, look. Let me tell the chat something. If y'all knew, and Chico is the same way, but I know Chico feels exactly how I feel. If y'all knew the game that Uncle Neely is giving us, while also, like, you know, allowing us to come on this channel and you know, partnering with us, if you understood what this man pours into his younger brothers, you would have a whole new respect for him on top of the immense respect that you already have for him. So the way that he, like, let me tell you something. He taught me so much, and I'm gonna leave that between me and him. But in 1 week, I learned more. 1 week, I learned more than I've learned. I've been working in media for about a few years now. I'm telling you, from big companies. I learned more from Uncle Neely in a week about where to go next. Man, it's been phenomenal. You've been phenomenal. So I had to give you your praise that you deserve, and I appreciate you, big dog.
Man, I appreciate those words. And like I said, we just get started. You're back in Boulder this week. You were here recently last week, and we got to sit down, me, you, and Coach Prime. Man, I don't know how long we sat there. Like, it was over the hour. You know, with just him giving us, you know, tidbits in life. And I was re-encouraged that meeting, because one of the things he said to you that I've heard to him say to even our non-brothers in the public said, he's like, hey, if you're in the media and you're trying to get in this room, you got to talk to Neely first. If he don't get you in, you ain't coming.
Yeah.
And so the trust that he puts in me, that I thereby get to extend to guys like you and Chico, and even working with, you know, guys over at DNVR, doesn't matter, that we all trying to uplift this program from a media space. And that's about when you recognize talent in somebody, man, give them the opportunity, you know, to move forward in life. And this is episode 3. We got episode 4, 5, and 6 coming. This is going to be coming during the off season, live on Mondays. Looking to add another night too with Big Dog Chico, so y'all stay tuned for that. Top of the hour, it's You Tell Me with Dukes to Scoop and Uncle Neely from the Pregame Show. We're going to catch y'all next Monday, but stay tuned during the Thanksgiving week, because Duke's in town, so we might drop anything. Take us out, Dukes.
Well, I can't figure
Hey, man.
it out.
You know what? Last
Help
week,
me out.
man, I was trying, man. I busted freestyle last week, but when I heard it on the playback, my computer was too slow. I'm gonna tell you what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna catch one of these beats and we're gonna record it. I'm gonna see you tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah. Shout out to the 735 still with us as we sign off. On your way out the door, hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe button to both channels, Big Dog Chico and the Pregame Show. We're gonna catch y'all next Monday. Yeah, y'all.
Go.
Oh,